Hello everyone and welcome to this video. After the unconvincing excuses from the Pgmol, Liverpool has made an official request to access the audio of the conversation between the officials Simon Hooper and Darren England for Luis Diaz's disallowed goal. Looks like Liverpool won't settle for just apologies and really wants to get to the bottom of this one. And I'm also curious to hear the audio. I'm surprised that these audios are not public record and have to be actually requested. From what I have read in the news, this request has to be granted by the referee chief, Howard Webb, which he did, so we will be able to get those in the coming days. I wanted to know exactly how often we see VAR mistakes to have a better understanding as to why we ended up into this situation. I also wanted to have a better understanding of the logic behind certain decisions. So I did a little bit of search and I found about 10 or more instances since February 2022 of VAR mistakes. This sounds like a pretty high number to me for such a prestigious league such as the English Premier League. So let's take a look together at some of them. February 2022, Manchester City beating Everton 1-0. Clear handball in the Man City box from Rodri, which should have been awarded a penalty to Everton. Unfortunately, both the referee and the VAR officials managed to miss it. It's totally understandable that the referee misses the handball, but when the VAR played it in slow motion, there is no way for them to see that there was no handball. If I'm not mistaken, this did also hurt Liverpool's title race. After this game, the officials issued a formal apology to Frank Lampard, who was unfortunately sacked the next day anyways. August 2022, Crystal Palace beating Aston Villa 3-1. A controversial penalty was given to Palace after Marcus Guehi's header hit the arm of Lucas Digne in the Villa box. Digne and Guehi were so close to each other at the time of the challenge, there was no possible way for Digne to get out of the way. The VAR did review the whole action and did not overturn the referee's decision. At the time of the penalty, the score was 1-1. February 2022, Chelsea beating West Ham 2-1, 89th minute equalizer from Cornet that is unfortunately denied. A couple seconds prior, Bowen had a light contact with Edouard Mendy, who stayed on the ground. The VAR reviews show very low contact, which did not justify Mendy's acting, and honestly, if it were up to me, not only would the goal be allowed, but I would have also given a yellow card to Mendy for bad acting. This is a great example of how VAR can influence the referee's decision by only playing the whole action in slow motion. Slow motion will often exacerbate the gravity of the actual movement, as it seems like there was a huge fault. This is a problem we see often, resulting in harsh red cards in other situations. September 2022, United beating Arsenal 3-1. Listen, I'm usually happy when Arsenal loses, but this one kind of sucks for them. Eriksen was legally dispossessed of the ball by Odegaard. Ball landed on Saka's feet, who did a perfect through ball for Martinelli, who scores. VAR intervenes and review the challenge of Odegaard on Eriksen, cancels Arsenal's goal because they say that Odegaard did foul Eriksen. This was the opening goal and would have surely changed the outcome of the whole game. But unfortunately, United went ahead to beat Arsenal 3-1 on that day. If you look at the action as a whole, you can see that when Eriksen gets the ball, he takes too long to make a decision. He is too slow. He doesn't know if he's going to pass the ball, if he's going to dribble, and that cost him a couple seconds, and those couple seconds were enough for Odegaard, who was pressing him, to dispossess him of the ball legally and go ahead with the build-up of the goal. That was a good goal, and unfortunately, again, VAR failed Arsenal, and VAR failed overall. November 2022, Forest versus Brentford 2-2 draw. Forest in winning 1-0. We are waiting about the 43 minutes. Wissa is on a through ball 1v1 versus Henderson. Wissa then falls after a minimal contact with the goalkeeper Henderson. So then the VAR extensive looks at it, and then they decide that a penalty is awarded. The VAR did fail to overturn the decision, and after the game, Howard Webb, the chief referee, had to apologize to Forrest. What's interesting on this one is that if you look at the still image, yes, you do see that the glove of Henderson is hitting Wissa on the shin, but it's a very soft contact and it's not enough to trip Hissa on the ground. You can see that Hissa just overdoes it, does a lot of acting and drops very easily, which awards him a penalty. This should have been seen by the VAR and no penalty should have been given on that one. February 2023, Crystal Palace versus Brighton, 1-1 draw. A Stupinian goal was ruled out for offside by the VAR. The next day, Pgmol gave an apology, and I will quote them word by word. As was confirmed to the club by Pgmol last night, a serious error was made in disallowing Pervis Estupinian's goal. The line drawn in the VAR room to determine whether Pervis was in an offside position were drawn incorrectly, and the goal should have stood. While hugely disappointed by the error, the clubs accepted Pgmol apology and will not be making any further comment. Do you see how dictatorial this is? So the Pgmol is allowed to make mistakes, but expects the club to feel disappointed without making any further inquiries or comments? I mean, that would fly and that would be okay if the mistake only happens once every 6 months. But we're talking about mistakes that happen so frequently as every month. So I don't think so, Pgmol, no. February 2023, Arsenal versus Brentford, 1-1 draw. Ivan Toney scored an equalizer which should not have been allowed to stand. During the build-up of the action, Norgard was clearly standing in an offside position. Officials on and off the pitch failed to see the offside from Norgard and allowed the goal to stand. Even after the VAR review, they failed to see that Norgard was moving back into an onside position from an offside position when he did the header that led to the build-up to the goal. That should have been caught by VAR. I don't know how they missed it. April 2023, Tottenham beating Brighton 2-1. Mitoma was clearly fouled by Holberg, who clipped Mitoma's foot in the build-up. Even though there's a clear contact in the replay of the action, the referee refuses to give a penalty and VAR did not intervene at all. What's interesting to note in this game is that 2 Brighton goals were disallowed by VAR as well. Tottenham working really hard on this one. August 2023, United beating Wolves 1-0. Onana clattered onto Kalacic in the box and it is a clear as day. VAR reviews the incident but did not instruct the on-field referee to go check the screens. As a result, no penalty was awarded to Wolves and they lost the game. Pgmol, as they always do, later, of course, when it doesn't matter anymore, apologizes to Wolves boss Gary O'Neill. What is that going to do to them? Nothing, as always. September 2023, most recent one, Tottenham beating Liverpool 2-1. In one of the most disgraceful football matches in recent history, Liverpool sees a Luis Diaz goal denied due to offside. Diaz was perfectly onside and it was as clear as day to the naked eye. Goal was disallowed after a shocking VAR review. It was later discovered that the VAR officials were under the impression that Diaz's goal was given by the on-field referee when it had actually been flagged as offside. So, after their review, they informed the referee that the call was correct, which they were under the impression of that it was a given goal. But the call of the referee was actually offside. So they said correct call, so correct offside pretty much. Liverpool ends up losing the game. Goal is disallowed. They lose 2-1 with 9 men on the pitch because later in the game, the Liverpool also gets 2 red cards. Sorry, I keep saying we because I'm a Liverpool supporter. There is so much space, okay? When you look at this offside, there is so much space between Diaz and the last man standing of Tottenham that you could clearly even park a bus in between that space. Anyways, this is just crazy. I want to conclude this video by saying this. I completely understand that referees have a hard job. They're humans, they're under pressure, so they will make mistakes. However, the question is this: how many people are there in a VAR room? On top of that, you have the main referee and you have the assistants. So that's a lot of humans that can make mistakes. You would think that someone would get it right and call out the error that make it right on the spot. So the question is, where is the real issue? Is it a lack of training? Are there conspiracies against some teams? Anyways, I don't want to fall into that. I don't have the answer, but I'm really excited to hear the audio from that Liverpool situation to have a better understanding of the logic behind the decision. One thing is certain, if the English Premier League wants to keep its status of most prestigious league in Europe, things are going to have to change. The errors are too often and too frequent, and that is a huge problem. Anyways, this is all I had for today, and I hope to see you on the next video. I will leave you with this. Check complete.